hāpai te tika me te pono tēnā koutou. Nau mai waihape mai anō ki tēnei pai kōrero e kia nei ko tapatahi. Ko tā tātou mahi he whai atu i te tika me te pono o te kōrero. Nō reira, i roto i tērā whakaaro tēnā no tātou katoa. Welcome to Tapatahi, our new multi-platform program that tells you everything you need to know about COVID-19. Tapatahi means to unite and is taken from the well-known Māori song Tūtira mai ngā iwi. And it's all about doing this together, so if you have a pātai or whakaaro about anything on today's show, please let us know. Well, coming up on today's show, the government has announced what life and business activity might look like under Alert Level 3. We tell you what it means for you, and business will tell us what it means for them. Rawiri Taunui tells us why he believes Māori aren't being tested enough. We look at what lockdown means for rangatahi and whānau.
Set, go.
And the Mātoi whānau join us with their rendition of a Prince Tuiteka classic.
I know it's sunshine, follow rain. I know that pleasure follows pain, and I know.
But first, here's what you need to know in 30 seconds. Ko te rā rua tekau mā rua tēnei o te rāhui, it's day 22 in lockdown. There are 15 new cases, 6 are confirmed, 9 are probable. There are 5 new Māori cases, which takes the total number to 118. There is 1 new Pacifica case, which is a total of 63. 770 have recovered, which is an increase of 42 from yesterday. The new combined total of confirmed and probable cases is 1,401. 12 are in hospital, including 3 in ICU and 2 are in a critical condition. Just over 70,000 have been tested. In this ever-changing COVID-19 world, businesses are now planning for how to adapt if we move to Level 3 next Thursday. Under Level 3, restaurants, cafes, bars and malls remain closed, but food delivery services and takeaway drive-thrus can resume. Online shopping will be allowed, but face-to-face transactions are still not permitted. People who work in other people's homes, such as plumbers and electricians, can return to work, provided they maintain physical distancing and good hygiene practices. But there's still a lot for businesses to figure out about how this will work for them. With me now are Ra Beasley from Ikabol in Auckland, art gallery owner Logan Shipgood from Rotorua, and Rachel Taulele from Kono, makers of tohu wine and primary produce. Tēnā koutou.
Kia ora.
How has lockdown affected your business, and if we move to Level 3 next week, what does that mean for you? Maybe if we start with you, Ra, then go to Rachel and then end with Logan.
So for me, personally, because we can do delivery and that kind of stuff, we will be looking at reopening. The only issue is being, first, can we afford to open with what cash we have on hand? And 2, if we open, will we see ourselves close back again, and how will that impact us as a business? So I think just weighing up all the options and being in the hospitality sector, I know that I might be one of the only ones that can actually pull that off, seeing as where we can be delivery and we can manage that quite well. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens over the next few days. And demand, we don't know what demand's going to be like, so that'll be interesting as well.
Rachel, what about you?
So we've been an essential business from the get-go, and so the change for us really happened as soon as lockdown was announced. We had to swing into gear and put in place a number of changes to our operational practices, be it in the vineyards, or in the winery, in our seafood factory, or in our orchards. And so we've been in that space now for a couple of weeks, or 22 days, as you said. And it's been a phenomenal change to the nature of our business and the way that we conduct ourselves, so much so that when Level 3 arrives, we really won't be changing anything at all. So those who are working from home will stay at home. All of the practices and procedures we've changed in our locations with our people working on site, they'll all stay the same. It's a little bit like trying to swing a freight train, and the less you try to do that, or the less often you try to do that, the easier it is to stay the course. And you know, while level 3 is really important, keeping everyone safe is more important.
Logan, what about you? How has lockdown affected your business, and what does level 3 mean for you?
Like most of tourism throughout the country, Rotorua has taken a really hard hit. About everything here, the majority of Rotorua depends on tourism, great bulk of it. You've got many hotels, motels, different businesses, adventure tourism. Whakarewarewa, which is where my gallery is right next to, and where I was brought up, and where tourism in New Zealand, originated. It's completely dead. Nobody walking around, and I think it's going to take a long time before we get international tourism back to Rotorua again. I've had to start thinking about, what I can do in the future. Immediately after the lockdown, if we go into phase 3 or phase 2, is to start planning, and that's what I'm doing right now. I'm revisiting old ideas from the past, and maybe resurface those, and see where I can go through from there.
Logan, do you know if you can open or reopen your art gallery at level 3?
No, we don't know yet. We haven't been told, and would be probably not much sense in doing it, because we rely upon a lot of international tourism here, and would be great to see the domestic market and national market come back, but we will have to wait and see.
Ra, how important is it for us to move to level 3 for your business?
I think it is important, because the longer we stay in level 4 and we don't even have any possibility of trading, you're going to see so many of us in hospitality fall off. So it is a welcoming thing for our business. But in saying that, level 3 we might not even be able to really effectively trade under level 3 in the first place. We're thankful, because we've had a number of key partnerships, I think, for us to actually be able to trade in level 3. So we've partnered with people like Mobi2Go, which is a New Zealand-based company who have just onboarded us really with no other, we don't have to put up anything or anything like that. There's no strings attached. And now we're able to actually build an e-commerce platform. So instead of people having to come in physically into the store, they can order online. So that's kind of a little bit of a lifeline from other businesses and kind of Kiwi businesses. And we just have to look to the future and look at what is the hospitality industry going to look like, and do we pivot straight away right off the bat, be the first ones to do that, so we and just accept that hospitality industry is going to be different. So I think that's a key thing that we'll be doing, and a lot of other hospitality industries will be doing, to just keep people as safe as possible. So to get what we want and still trade, but also be safe. So I think this level 3 is going to push us to that, as a training ground kind of thing. So yeah.
I'm interested to understand exactly what needs to be done in order for you to reopen on Thursday next week. That is, and of course, if we do move to level 3, you're talking about providing a service via online, right? And delivery?
Yeah. So I think half of it's got to do with what the authorities are going to tell us and what our legal requirements are. So I think that's still to come. And the earlier we get that, the better we can prepare. So even if, let's say, Thursday we do open and level 3, there's no way that majority of hospitality operators are going to open. We're not going to open, because we still have to figure out, all right, what do I have to implement in my business to keep my staff safe, first and foremost, regardless of whatever money or anything like that. And then secondly, what are the operations I need in terms of compliance, all those kind of things, to really function in a level 3 society, I guess. And for me, if we're going to prepare ourselves for a level 3 society, I think we will just carry that throughout every single level, because I feel that I don't know if things are going to go back to normal. I don't know if people are actually going to be able to sit down in a restaurant with people, next to people they don't know. So our thing is, well, if we're going to stay alive and we're going to continue providing the service, which I believe in and I want to, I think the goal really is to give people this nutritious food, and maybe we have to cut out all the non-essential contact going forward in this new world. So it's kind of my thing at the moment.
Rachel, it appears that a move to level 3 means very little to your current operation because you have been an essential service. Can you talk to us about some of the changes that you've had to implement to be able to operate under a level 4?
Sure. So we have a staff of around nearly 500, and of those about 90 are working from home, and that has its own challenges, particularly for those people with children and certainly in the last week since people have had their kids go back to school. So working from home is new for us. And then we have the balance of our team who are still on site. And so we've had to make changes in and around people's movement. So our requirement that they come to and from directly to and from work, that carpooling is reduced, that on arrival to work, we have people filling out daily diaries as to what their movements were since they left work yesterday and they arrived at work this morning. So that's an everyday activity on shift and in the orchards and in the factories. And then we have pretty strict requirements around PPE that have changed in our seafood factory, because Greenshell Mussels is the bulk of our business. We have people where previously they were right next to each other opening mussels. We've had to take out every other station so people can have the requisite distance between them. There is a whole new approach to, obviously, direct contact. So we've staggered breaks. People arrive no more than 10 minutes before or 10 minutes after their shifts. There's no congregating at break time. So it's fundamentally a really different space and different experience in our businesses than it was previously. And some of those things will probably stay after COVID. There are certain things that we've put in place which are really sensible. We know infinitely more about our team than we did previously, and their conditions and their whānau that allow us to support them even more than we were previously.
That's an interesting point that you make, because as Ra says, they're now having to approach the way that they do business, whether it's level 3, level 2 or level 1. And is that a similar approach that you'll be taking in terms of what you've had to do to cope with level 4 restrictions?
It is. I think in as much as this is really life-changing and through personal and professional spaces, I think that we are trying to approach this from the perspective of, there's a time for surviving, and that everyone is trying to survive at the moment, and people will get to that point at different times. And there is also a school of thought which says, how do you thrive out of this experience? And one of my experiences of our team through this has been an overwhelming development of trust and kindness and a consideration of others, that whilst it was there before as a Māori organisation, we live, very strongly by our values. I see that really showing itself even more. So we have some really humbling stories of people who have committed themselves through this process, whether it's 3 skippers who straight away decided to isolate themselves on the boat or in one of the skippers' homes away from their whānau for the duration, or people who have moved into caravans on vineyards off their own bat. All of those sorts of things, you hope that people feel that way about what they do and who they do it with and for, but when really pushed, to see that, as I say, is really humbling. And, there's few words that it can explain the gratitude from a business perspective for people doing that.
Absolutely. Thank you for that, Rachel. Logan, unfortunately, I can't come to you. I'm being told we're out of time, but my thoughts are with you because, as you said earlier, especially for Rotorua, the tourism, one of our tourism capitals of the country, you are facing uncertain times. Well, everyone is. So thank you for joining us this morning, Logan Shipgood, Rachel Taulele and Ra Beasley, and all the very best for the coming days.
Kia ora.
No, appreciate it.
Yes.
Kia tahuri ake tātou i nāia nei ki tētahi atu kaupapa. Well, rangatahi that are working on the front line around the motu have had to step up and work harder than ever before. A lot of marae around the motu are counting on their rangatahi to be able to do the heavy lifting. Joining us now are two super rangatahi, Shakoya Te Pana Hauraki and Rangi Iria Barclay Kerr. Tēnā kōrua.
Kia ora.
Tell us, whereabouts are you and what work have you been involved in?
We're in Kirikiriroa at the moment, kei Kirikiriroa mātou e mahi ana I tēnei wā. We've been doing a lot of mahi actually, from picking up care packages for our whānau and kaumātua to delivering these packages and even delivering prescriptions and stuff like that to our kaumātua and whānau, just so that they don't have to come out really.
So what does your normal day look like? If we can even use the word normal, what does your day look like now during lockdown?
Normal day for us looks like waking up, probably 7 o'clock, wake up, come to this place. We're at a church at the moment, making boxes, packing boxes, making packing product, distributing to all our collectives for them to give to whānau.
You're both fulfilling a very, very important role, I have to say. How does that make you feel to be involved in something like this?
Yeah, this is the whole reason we've come to work for this place, to help our whānau and work for our whānau, and this is one way we can do that. Yeah, it's not like we have to, but we need to.
Yeah, absolutely. What are your friends doing? Are we seeing a lot of rangatahi being involved in this type of activity, helping out, supporting initiatives like this?
Our whole team is actually full of rangatahi at the moment, just to keep our older kaimahi at home, and we're capable of doing from admin right through to the heavy lifting to the delivery. So it's just easy to have one lot of people in this place.
How do you feel about the situation that we find ourselves in lockdown? So, when you go home after a long day's work, what do you think about in terms of what the future may hold for you?
For myself, it's kind of interesting going through a pandemic as a rangatahi, because you get to see what can help and what whānau do struggle with on a day-to-day. And then you see all of our rangatahi, they come out of their homes, pop their bubbles for each other to help whānau that are vulnerable.
It must give you some really strong sense of pride to be able to help out where you can.
Yeah, I suppose it does, really. And, our people were working people, were people that enjoy and love helping everybody else. And so it's just natural and normal for us. And we're going to help in any way we can. And this is one way we're able to do that. And, I suppose we feel pride and, happy that we're able to help, but we can feel that every day. Nice.
So how long have you been working at Te Kōhau Health?
I only just started actually just before the lockdown, and so I've come straight in and I've been deployed out of my actual role. And I've been here a little over a year. I've been here.
What do you think is the most challenging part of your role, your current role?
You want to go first? Probably it's not as much challenging, but it's more enjoyable because you get to learn and watch how you're changing, how you're helping your community, and watching all the other teams do the same thing for their communities. I'd say too, it's just been challenging to just keep our distance with the people that are coming to pick up their packages, make sure we have all our health and safety gears on as well, because it's not something that we have to do every day. So, yeah.
Awesome. It's been an absolute pleasure, I have to say, to talk to you both, and thank you for all the work that you are doing. I just wonder if you can turn around and ask the rest of the team, your colleagues there, if they can give us a wave. Awesome. Tēnā rau atu koutou, e mihi nui atu ana mātou, kia koutou katoa mo te mahi nui, a koutou mahi nui mo te oranga o te iwi, tēnā koutou. Ka rawe. Well, it's that day of the week where we check in with our whānau. How are they coping? Are they coping? The Collings whānau will join us shortly, but first here's a taste of what they've been up to during lockdown.
Set, go.
Well, the Collings whānau join us now from Wairarapa. Tēnā koutou and thanks for joining us.
Kia ora.
Kia ora. Let's start off by, if you could, introduce yourselves. And let's start with you, Mum.
Okay, kia ora. My name is Waireka. And who have we got here? Jaden?
Kia ora, my name is Jaden.
Thank you, Mum, doing the camera work as well.
This is not that great. Oh, golly. It's really close.
Oh.
Oops. We've got little Greg. We've got Jaden Te Koha, Jared Nico, Alva Manawa, and Eden Te Ohonga. We've got 5 children here.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, it's a pleasure to have you with us this morning. How are things going, Waireka? How is lockdown?
Well, it's been a bit of a learning experience for all of us, I think, to kind of be together again in a smaller space all the time. It's a bit of a struggle. It's been a struggle, but I think we're starting to get the hang of it now, which is pretty good. The kids have been into their learning starting from Wednesday, and they had some Chromebooks turn up from their school, so we've been very fortunate. We're coping.
And that's great to hear. That is great to hear. So as you mentioned, you've received some resources because term 2 of school started back this week. How has that gone?
Well, the first day was a bit of a write-off. We just kind of like decided that we would just take some time to get our heads around how that might work for us. But when the Chromebooks turned up yesterday, Alva here, we couldn't get her off them. She wanted to work all day, and this morning, when they opened up their Chromebooks, they were ready to send a message to their teacher to ask for more work, which I don't think is normal. I don't think they do that at school. But luckily for them, some more mahi turned up on their laptops this morning. So very awesome, the teachers, our teachers that we have.
So how does a whare with 5 tamariki in it operate during a school day at home?
Well, we've been trying to incorporate a bit of hākinakina, stop it, in our day, because I think that's good for the kids to kind of get some energy burnt off early. So we try to do that in the morning, and then a bit of mahi. I think if they get most of their school learning done in the mornings, their minds are fresher. And then in the afternoons, we just tend to do a bit of free time and go for a hikoi.
Nice, nice. Is Eden with you now?
Yes, she is.
Eden. So I understand, Eden, that you helped set up, or you led the setup of the obstacle course out the back. Is that right?
Okay, no, that's Jaden, our big boy.
That's Jaden, okay. I'll talk to my researcher after this. Jaden, so where's Jaden?
He's our big boy.
Okay, Jaden, kia ora. Nice to talk to you. So I hear that you set up the awesome obstacle course that we saw in a video just a while ago. Is that right?
Yep. That's right.
Tell us about it. What made you do that?
So we were kind of bored in our house all together. So I came up with the idea to start doing something outside, and then we kind of just started off with the stuff that were already outside, and then we just started adding on to that.
Awesome. What is the best thing that you've found about lockdown, about being at home over the last few weeks with your family?
I've been together with family probably and staying at home.
What's the thing that you really miss?
Being outside, like outside of the house and hanging out with friends.
Absolutely. Jayden, thank you, and what an awesome obstacle course that you have built. Mum Waireka, thank you for joining us this morning, and it's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you. And take care, stay safe in your bubble.
Thank you.
Thank
Ka
you.
kite.
Ka kite.
Ka kite.
Well, we leave the Wairarapa and now head to Ōrākei in Tāmaki Makaurau, Auckland, to the Pōtaka whānau. Tēnā koutou.
Tēnā koe.
Kia ora, and thank you for joining us. Ariana, I can see you. Is Tama there with you as well?
Once he finishes his zui, he'll pop down.
Ka pai. Ariana, excuse me. First of all, let me acknowledge the recent passing of your dad, which happened at the beginning of lockdown. Ka nui te aroha ki a koe o tira ki a koutou.
Tēnā koe. It was a sudden and unexpected event for us, and so I think when we have the time to reflect on what's happened, my sisters and I will gratefully wrap ourselves in one another's arms and just, celebrate our father and also to start healing properly through, as you could imagine, what the sort of the moments of sadness and hurt. Yeah. So thank you.
Our absolute sympathy and condolences, as I mentioned, do go out to you. Now, tell us, how has the lockdown been over the last few weeks? You've got your tamariki there as well, and we'd like to, if they could introduce themselves.
Sure.
Ko Arangia Hau. And in the lockdown, we've been going for bike rides to the city pump track and to GTEC. Grammatic.
Oh, and it looks like we may have lost that beautiful whānau. No, they may be back with us. Okay. So it doesn't look like we have been able to reconnect with the Pōtaka whānau. The Pōtaka whānau live at Ōrākei here in Tāmaki Makaurau in Auckland. And of course we were just talking to Ariana and her beautiful two children, Tiaria and Awarua, who, and I think Awarua was he was talking to us about a day in the life at Ōrākei. However, we need to move on, and we shall. Alma and Hank Mātoi live in Te Pāpaka Nui a Māui, Australia, but stay connected with their whānau through social media. They're regular singers on the Lockdown Entertainment Facebook page. They only intended to sing once, but after many requests from whānau, they go live every day. I spoke to Alma and Hank earlier today. Tēnā kōrua, and thank you for joining us. Tell us, what is it like to have now found Facebook fame?
Pretty surreal, really. We actually just come on here to a bit of tautoko out there, and we just had a couple of songs, and then it's been a good experience. Huh?
Well, when we went on there and when we got so many comments, we realised how much happiness we were bringing into the homes of those mainly living alone. So we just decided to keep going on there every night.
Awesome. Now, you've been living in the Gold Coast, 39 years now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you're currently in self-isolation. How is lockdown going for you both?
It's good, I've known a bit more about her. Oh, yeah. No, we just find things to do, and what we're doing now is just taking up nearly all of our day, really, isn't it? You know, so it's really, really good, yeah.
I actually work from home.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's not as though it's an unusual experience that you're now faced with.
No, we like being in our bubble.
Yeah. Yeah. It's good.
And of course now you're joining other bubbles virtually online. Every day you're singing a song, you're giving presenting a bracket of beautiful waiata. Tell us about your motivation to do that. Why do you want to entertain others?
I feel that going back, my experience and going back towards the old people, and I've never ever lost track. I sort of, you hear music and it just takes you back in time, and the memories are there. It's a beautiful waiatas, out there, and it's just sort of distancing themselves away from us, and just to bring them back alive. And it's, we have our parties and everything else, and we always sing them, whatever they are. Everyone knows, even if you don't know the words, or they know the tune.
Well, talking about parties, I understand you've got a classic party song for us. Not a fast one, but a slow one, a classic Prince Tuiteka number. Tell us about the song you're going to sing, and then we'll hand over the stage to you.
Oh, yeah. This is an oldie brought out by, excuse me, by the Prince Tuiteka, and For the Life of Me. And it was one of the first songs that Ellie and I sang together on stage, and we just sort of lived with it, haven't we?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's our signature song.
Yeah. Yeah, he's a good man too. Yeah, back in those days.
Well, as they say in showbiz, take it away. The stage is all yours.
Ka whai.
Oh, thank you. It's 8 o'clock in the morning here. How can there be a song without music? How can there be a way without the sea? The lightning beat, a thunder, is a speaking voice, oh yeah. And I must have you for the life of me. Ooh. How can there be a baby with no crying? Our future with no past can never be. Our hummingbird can't live unless it's free to fly. Oh yeah, and I must have you for the life of me. I know that sunshine follows rain. I know that pleasure follows pain, and I know that I must have you to every ship waits for the crew, and every rose makes a love at you. But I need How can there be an end? Written no begin. So run to me, I'm waiting helplessly. And break these shackles, not in patience, make me. I was hurt for the life of me.
Kia ora.
Thank you.
Alma and Hank, thank you so much for an outstanding, simply beautiful rendition of a classic Prince Tui Teka, your signature song for the past 39 years. Thank you for your time. Thank you for serenading us, and take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a great day. Kia pai tara.
God bless you all.
Independent researcher Dr. Rawiri Taunui believes Māori are not being tested enough for COVID-19. He's released a report outlining his concerns based on his analysis of data from the Ministry of Health and 2 DHBs. It confirms concerns of under-testing expressed by Māori and Pacifica health leaders and community workers. Rawiri Taunui says the data includes testing done after April 1st, when new criteria specifically targeted Māori and Pacific communities for testing. Rawiri Taunui is with me now. Tēnā koe.
Hi, ngā mihi, Shane. Good to see you.
Great to see you too. Thank you for joining us. Tell us, how have you come to these conclusions?
There's been discussion in Te Ao Māori, our leaders, community workers for some time, and a general feeling that Māori are being under-tested. I requested information from the Ministry of Health and from all DHBs, and on last week the Ministry of Health made a release of information which showed testing by ethnicities, and Māori were definitely under. So nationally, there have been tests of 8.6 per 1,000 of the Pākehā population and only 7.4 of the Māori population. Now, DHBs are not releasing data, and when they do, generally it doesn't include the ethnic breakdown of testing. But 2 DHBs separately did send me that information, and the pattern is of very low testing of the Chinese population, the Māori population, and the Pacific people's population. So we need to pick that up because of our vulnerabilities, comorbidities that kick in for us at a much younger age than Pākehā. We need to see testing in our communities to discover any reservoirs of COVID that might still exist.
What prompted you to carry out this research?
Well, I've been working with Wātea News to do updates for Māori, so there's information about our communities out there. And then obviously we have a strong historical record of highest death rates in epidemics ever since first contact. Now, some people say, listen, a lot of that's a long time ago, and yes, that's true, like the 1918 flu and so on. But that's also been the case in terms of things like the Asian flu epidemic in 1959, swine flu 2009, the series of meningococcal B outbreaks that we had during the early 2000s to about 2014. So obviously we're vulnerable, and so we need an appropriate level of testing to make sure we're protected.
Why do we need this information? Why is it so important?
Well, it's very important, Shane, because if COVID was to say get into, just as an example, to get into one of our regions, say the East Coast or the far north, now New Zealand's got quite a good capacity for ICU care. Certainly it's above and beyond the number of cases that we have nationally. But if COVID was to get into one of our communities, there's much less health provision in those communities and a lower level of help. And with the vulnerabilities with things like heart disease, liver disease, kidney issues, respiratory problems, there's a potential for COVID to replicate itself in much the same way as we're seeing in aged care facilities at the moment, and that could be really devastating for us. So we need that level of protection. If I could just add one point, in the absence of testing in the regions, and that's one of the other problems in the data, some of the testing, so Te Tai Rāwhiti, the Central North Island, Bay of Plenty, where we have high percentage Māori populations, that's been some of the lowest overall testing in the country to April 9. So we need to protect against the potential for outbreaks there.
More recently, Māori health providers have started up community clinics and mobile clinics. Is that helping to increase the numbers?
Definitely is. One of the patterns that's emerging, Shane, is that mainstream testing sites haven't been engaging very well with our people. There are stories about that all over the country. And one of the feelings is that Māori and Pacific peoples engage with testing better with the health system when there's Māori health staff there. So the bringing of those online is really important. And anecdotally, it looks like in several places the testing has increased quite markedly. If there's one pattern, Shane, that's the exception to the rule. In Northland, the testing for Māori is actually on par with their demographic as within the District Health Board. But of course, Northland has got something like 30% of their health staff are Māori. And that's one of the things that makes a difference. So this is promises to address the issue.
Do you know that information because the Northland DHB has released the data to you? I'm just picking up on your earlier point around DHBs not being forthcoming and releasing their data and, importantly, ethnicity data.
Yes, well, I sent official information at request to all 20 DHBs, and Northland DHB and Nelson Marlborough DHB released the information, including by ethnicity, and most of the rest have either not responded, referred me to the Ministry of Health. One person referred me to an internet page which had no information on it at all. So I think it's probably true to say that the DHBs are quite sensitive about that, about the information, and clearly that's because some of the testing is very, very low. So yesterday I had a community health worker contact me and say in the area they live, there's a population of 10,000 Māori, and to date, the DHB had only tested 8 out of 10,000. I mean, that doesn't even register as 1%. So the goodwill is there, but we need to lift those figures. If we could make another observation, Shane, there's been quite a bit of discussion around the country about Māori checkpoints and things like that. And with such low testing in the regions and low testing of our communities in the regions, those checkpoints have probably been vital in protecting our communities.
Rawiri Taonui, it has been a pleasure talking to you this morning. Thank you for your time, and I'm sure we'll be catching up again soon.
Kia ora.
Of course, that's Rawiri Taonui. Now, don't forget, whānau, we've launched a competition, a whakataitai, where you could win $1,000. All you need to do is create a 5-minute, up to 5-minute video that shows the motu what you're doing during lockdown, and of course, it must be fun. We'll announce the winner at the end of lockdown, which means you may only have a few days to get your entry in. Nō reira, kia tere, kia kaha. All you need to do is go to our Māori Television Facebook page, like it, don't forget that, and DM your video through. He māmā noiho, it's absolutely easy peasy. It's D-Day on Monday, and we'll find out what life may look like post-lockdown. Will we stay at alert level 4, or will we move to level 3? We'll prepare you for the government's big announcement on Monday. Have a great weekend, stay safe and stay in your bubble. Koe nā tapatahi mo tēnei wiki, tēnei rā, kia piki te ora te kaha me te māramatanga kia koutou katoa. Hei ko nā mo tēnei wā.